Ideally, you don't ever want to feel exhausted on the drums. You want to be able to play as loud and fast as you want to and not feel like you're just crashing by the end of a song. So what do we do when our right leg is feeling the burn and our stiff right foot just isn't playing what we want it to play? Well, today we're solving a lot of right foot issues with a simple quick fix, like literally an instant quick fix, really cool, as well as some strength building and coordination exercises. I'll share with you number one, the instant adjustment that makes everything easier for your right foot. Number two, some exercises that build strength, coordination, and precision for a more solid right foot. And lastly, number three, the secret to mastering right foot technique long term and really feeling comfortable and capable on the kick drum, because we want to feel comfortable. We want to really be able to master this, and I'll show you how. This is going to be a lot of fun, so I hope you're ready for an action-packed, very actionable, concrete lesson today. You can do this. Let's dig in. Hey, welcome to the Non-Glamorous Drummer. I'm so glad you're joining me today. I'm all about helping you become the drummer that people actually want to play with, because you've mastered the core drumming skills that actually deliver the biggest results in your playing. That's what we're all about here, because even if you feel like you lack talent, even if you feel like you're too old to get started, even if you only have 30 minutes a day, you can master the drums with dedicated practice, and that's what I'm hoping to teach you in every lesson here on the channel. And hey, while you're here, I bet you're wanting to nail grooves and fills and be able to play literally anything you want to play. You want to be able to sit down and just play songs and sound good at the drums. But there's a problem. There's a problem that holds back at least 9 out of 10 of us, if not more, that you have a weak hand. And that weak hand is just wreaking havoc on everything you play, keeping you from playing balanced singles and balanced fills, keeping you from really feeling comfortable on the kit and feeling confident. And worse yet, that kind of lame weak hand kind of feels like an embarrassment. Like, how can I call myself a drummer when I can't really play well with my left hand, and so therefore I can't really play what I want to play? That's frustrating, and I've been there. I feel your pain. I used to deal with a weak left hand that couldn't play backbeats well. I couldn't play fills well at all. They were just kind of sloppy and they'd trip over each other. And my left hand couldn't play very fast either. It was very frustrating. And I dealt with that for way too long until I really started practicing the right things and focusing on the right things to solve that. And that's what I want to teach you. I want you to join my totally free mini course. It's called Eliminate Your Weak Hand in 3 Steps. This is a 3-step plan to completely solving your weak hand, whether it's your left hand or your right hand, so that you can play in a balanced way, so that you can nail fills, confidently play songs, and actually feel like you're the drummer that you're made to be, that you're reaching your potential on the drums, that you are the drummer people want to play with, that people enjoy playing with because you're confidently laying it down and you're no longer worrying about a weak hand. And that's what I want for you. And what's cool is that this process is simple and achievable. Even if you don't have a lot of time, it's okay. 30 minutes of dedicated practice every day. That's really going to give you some serious results when you follow the 3-step plan. So here's what I want you to do. Go click the link at the top of the description. That's going to take you right over there to where you can join the course for free. Go do it, take action on this, because you're going to get a lot of results. All right, on with today's lesson. Let's dig in. I love quick fixes. I love it when there's something that's easy and quick that can solve a whole bunch of problems without any practicing, without even a technique adjustment. And usually those things fall under the category of ergonomic adjustments on the kit, like moving something a couple inches. So here is the instant adjustment. This has made a big difference in a lot of my students. We've found that a lot of times we're sitting too close. We're sitting too close to the kick drum. And what happens is, because we're cramped up, our right foot is having to work harder than it needs to. If you sit here and you make sure that your leg is kind of like tight and cramped up and at this angle, notice how the closer you pull your heel to you, the harder it is to lift your foot. And even the harder it is to lift your leg, especially if you're sitting kind of low, something else we'll talk about. But as your heel goes out this way, as it goes further away from you, it's a lot easier to lift your foot, and you suddenly have a lot more freedom and flexibility. When you don't give your leg enough space, things tend to be cramped, and you end up having to work harder to get volume and speed, versus when you've got more space, it just comes naturally. So the instant adjustment is sit further back. If you felt like your right foot is getting more tired than it needs to, you're trying to maybe bounce the beater and you're not able to, and especially if you're playing heel down, try sitting further back. That might just mean sliding your stool back 2 inches. That might be it, just 2 inches. Maybe even just 1 inch, but try 2 inches. That's a good starting point, and see how that feels. Now, if you're playing heel up and you're feeling cramped and you're feeling like your leg's working too hard, and maybe you even feel like you're teetering a little and you're kind of out of balance, try sitting a little higher. Sometimes if you combine increasing your stool height with maybe sliding back a little also, that can be a huge help. I know if I'm trying to play heel up, I'm primarily a heel down player. I like being heel down, bouncing the beater. But if I were going to play something heel up, I would need to sit a little higher because I'm pretty tall. I'm about 6'4" with shoes, and so I know that I need more stool height in order to feel comfortable heel up. Because if you're going to play heel up, you want it to kind of feel like when you're sitting on a bar stool where you don't even want to plant your heel on the floor because you're up really high, and it's more natural to play heel up when you're sitting high versus when you're sitting on a sofa. Playing heel up would be really awkward, right? Because you're sitting really low. So we just want to use common sense here, but the thing is, these are things we don't always think about till somebody points it out. And I've noticed this in so many of my one-on-one students that, they're just sitting too close. And as soon as we make that adjustment, it is a night and day difference. Very cool, very rewarding to see. So super simple point, but that's the first point we have to make today, that sometimes that's all you got to do. Sit a little further back if you're going heel down. And if you're playing heel up, maybe sit a little higher and a little further back. Make sure that the angle between top of your leg, bottom part of your leg is much greater than 90 degrees. You can see the angle that my leg is coming up from my heel. Now, it's not going straight up. Like, it's not going like this. If your leg's going straight up from your heel, that's probably not good. If it's coming back up at an angle like this, that's more what you want. But now let's get into the meat of this lesson. Now that we've gotten those adjustments out of the way and we're feeling good. And by the way, if you feel like you're having any issues with your kick drum pedal, like you're wanting to adjust it better and play around with your beater angle and your spring tension, I've got other videos on that. And so we're not covering that today because those are all things that deserve their own in-depth lessons. And so we have in-depth lessons on that here on the channel. I'll link those in the description if you feel like your pedal needs some work, because that's another prerequisite thing. Get that done, get your pedal feeling good, and everything gets easier. But now let's dig into how we can build strength, coordination, and precision for a more solid right foot. So we're going to dig into some workouts and also some coordination exercises so that you're really able to maximize your right foot's potential. The first thing that I always teach with this is what I call the beater bobbing motion, where you want to be able to sit here and just get the beater moving like this, not even hitting the head. Maybe every once in a while it like gently thumps the head, but very lightly. What we want to do is establish a motion, and you can do this whether you're heel up or heel down. So here's what it looks like for me if I'm doing this heel up. I have more control heel down. I like being heel down. I'm more comfortable there. But if you're a heel up player, totally fine. Same things apply here. Doesn't matter. So get this going on. And by the way, if your beater angle is too small, you'll have a hard time with this. You want to make sure you've got a significant enough angle here. And you want to make sure that when you go like this and let go, the beater keeps moving pretty steadily. If it doesn't, then that might mean, like if it's going really slow, you might want a little more spring tension. If it slows down really quickly, like if it's quick and then it slows down, maybe the spring tension's too tight. If it feels stiff, maybe your pedal needs a little oil. Just some general tips there without getting into all the nitty-gritty of that. But make sure that your pedal looks roughly like this, and you should be able to sit here and get this kind of motion going on. See if you can have the beater almost hit your foot when it comes back, where it's almost hitting your foot. It's not going to unless your foot comes off the foot plate. But we're keeping our toes, we're keeping something in contact with the foot plate at all times. That way the beater doesn't hit our foot. So we want the beater to swing all the way up to almost hitting the head and then all the way back to almost hitting our foot. So we've got a 90-degree plus range of motion here. Now, I found in some students, this is a little bit difficult to do at first because they feel like they don't really have the precision yet to do it. And if that's you and you're having a hard time just establishing this, play around with the tempo a little bit. Generally, if you think eighth notes at like 100, 110, maybe 120, that's kind of the sweet spot where the pedal wants to just keep bobbing. Your pedal has kind of a natural tempo it wants to go at. Play around with that tempo. But if you're still having trouble, you can also just take the approach of, all right, let's just work on building some shear strength, because what usually happens with the kick drum with right foot is that as you build strength, the precision comes. It's hard to have the precision if the strength isn't there. So maybe the first thing you need to do isn't so much this, it's this. Just sit here and hammer out eighth notes, really loud but really steady. With your metronome, so you're staying nice and solid. Just find a tempo, maybe eighth notes at 110, 115, that's usually a good starting point, and see if you can just keep those going repetitively. I think I'm pretty close to 120. I don't have a metronome going, but I'm up there. 100, 115, 120 is a good starting point. Go a little slower if you need to, but find a tempo where you can hammer out eighth notes and keep it going for a whole minute. That's how you're really going to build some strength in your ankle and your shin. If you're going heel up, then you'll be building strength in your calf all over the place. If you're heel down, it'll especially be these muscles here on the front of your shin, these ankle muscles. Whatever technique you're doing, practice just hammering out loud eights to build strength. Then what I want you to begin doing is controlling that volume, controlling your dynamics, and doing that same thing, but doing it a little bit more quietly, but still keeping the beater in motion. And gradually working your way to where the beater's not even hitting the head, back to that beater bobbing thing. And as you're building the strength, you're going to have more precision to be able to do this. So what we want to do is be able to play these steady eighth notes with the full beater motion, silently, quietly, medium, and loudly, at all the dynamics. I've heard from so many students that this alone has been game-changing, where after practicing this for a few weeks, and especially a month or two, they're like, wow, my right foot's feeling so much better. It's capable of so much more than I thought it was. And so even if this is the only thing from this lesson that you practice, that's fine. This is a great starting place. Focus on this, because this teaches you to bounce the beater instead of bury it. There's a whole bunch of reasons I can argue for why you shouldn't bury the beater. I know a lot of drummers do that. A lot of famous drummers do that. A lot of rock drummers especially bury the beater. But you're going to get a better sound out of your kick drum if you don't bury. Your leg is going to receive less shock from the beater burying into the head if you bounce. Also, you'll avoid that flutter thing that happens when you're burying. Instead, you'll be able to just get a nice clean stroke. So many wins that happen when you bounce, but the reason most of us don't bounce is because it's a little harder. It requires a little more precision and a little bit more thought. Kind of like bouncing the sticks nicely and lightly from drum to drum. It takes a little bit of technique, but it's well worth it, because what bouncing does is it establishes a motion. It allows you to utilize a motion here, which helps you play more in time, especially when playing quietly. Because if I were to play, I know I'm exaggerating it, but it's easy to get really sloppy if I'm using a tiny beater height, beater angle, and I'm burying. It just sounds bad, but instead if I go, I'm still playing softly. I can still play softly with a lot of beater motion. As we know, if we can do this silently, then of course we can play softly with a lot of beater motion. It establishes some motion, gives us a better sound, and keeps things more in time. So I know that's a summation of my whole argument for bouncing. I hope that makes sense. I strongly encourage you to practice all this. Get used to bouncing the beater, because that is going to reward you a lot in the long run. That's your best long-term solution. So now let's get into these coordination exercises. I've got 3 of them for you. So it's 3 coordination exercises that are pretty simple. Doesn't mean they're easy necessarily, but they're simple, easy to grasp so that you can begin practicing them. And of course, they're in a notation PDF that you can grab. So you can take that to your practice room and know exactly what to work on. First one is this: kick drum eighths and sixteenths underneath right hand timekeeping. So maybe the first thing we do is we play quarter notes with the right hand and eighths with the right foot. Just like that. Or if we're going a little faster, we could think of it as eighths with the right hand, sixteenths with the right foot. Or even quarters with the right hand, sixteenths with the right foot. Which is harder because your right hand just kind of has to wait, you know. We're just sitting here with all this space in between while we're trying to stay steady down here. But those are great practices, number one, in building steadiness with your right foot, but also in building patience, and steadiness in your timekeeping hand. Because there's a lot of songs where we don't need to play sixteenths, don't need to play eighths. Maybe we only need to play quarters. Maybe we're playing a hard rock song where we're just crashing quarters. And we need to be able to play a lot of notes on the kick, but not a lot of notes with the right hand. This is a simple exercise that'll get you moving in that direction. And then we can take that a step further and do some different syncopation patterns with the kick. So let's say back to those eighth notes with the right hand, sixteenths with the kick. So if we just play straight sixteenths down here, we have this. But what if we take out one of those sixteenths every beat, so we end up with something like this? Taking out the so now we've got these triples, not triplets because they're sixteenths, but we've got these groupings of 3. Bum, 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 bum. We can play that for a couple measures, then we can shift it over. You might have heard exercises like this. This is nothing new at all, nothing original. This is exercises that marching bands have used and so many drummers are going to teach. So nothing unique here, but hey, it works. It helps coordinate your right foot to be able to play whatever underneath your right hand. So that's the first thing. We want to do those 3 sixteenths. Then shift them over so that we have this. Then shift them again, so now we're starting on the and, which means we're also playing one on the beat, so it ends up like this. Then shifting them yet again, which means we're starting them on the which means we also have them on the 1E. And then if we shift it again from there, we're back to. So if we loop through all these, I'll play all these back to back for you, just one each measure, just so you can hear how this might go if you turn this whole thing into a continuous exercise. And at that point, we're back at the beginning. So you could do one measure of each, or you could do 2 measures of each, 4 measures of each. And as you master each of those, you can then continually loop the whole thing over and over again. Great exercise to do. Then you could switch to just doing quarter notes on the right hand instead of eighths. And so, of course, you could also do sixteenths on the right hand. There's a lot of different ways you could do this. So get creative with it, come up with different variations, but know that this is really going to help coordinate that right foot. So you'll use that new technique that you're working on that we talked about a minute ago, now combined with some new coordination, so you can combine all of that and have a really great sounding kick foot that doesn't get stiff and tired and that is precise and playing the exact kick pattern that you want. Now, one more exercise you can do. I told you there'd be 3. So a lot of times the issue is freeing the right foot from the right hand. And of course, we did a little bit of that just now. But to go a little bit more linear with this and make sure that we really have solidified that relationship between right hand and right foot, we can just practice rudiments. Rudiments between right hand and right foot. So singles would be this. I'll play on the hi-hat so it's less noise here. And actually, when you're practicing this, usually it makes more sense to play on something that's a tighter sound so that you can hear if you're tight and in time, versus if you've got a really washy ride, it can just wash things out and make it hard to hear how well you're doing. All that to say, we'll do hi-hat instead. Doubles would be like this. Paradiddles. Very hard to do those steadily because a lot of times the kick drum wants to rush. A lot of times we end up with where it wants to kind of trip, but you've got to make yourself go really slow with this. That way, as you speed up, it's still smooth. Now you can also start these, instead of starting with the hand, you can start with the foot. So you could do likewise with the doubles or the singles. So between doing those 16th threes, those syncopation patterns a minute ago, and doing this, you can really get a lot more comfortable with that right hand, right foot relationship. Because that's what trips us up so many times when we're trying to play interesting kick drum patterns. Maybe we're trying to improvise a kick drum pattern and it's just not happening. Practice these exercises. It's really going to help you a lot. Now, to take this to yet another level, I know we've gotten through our 3 exercises now, but to take it to another level, you could also add in a backbeat on the snare to make this more groove-like. So going back to our first exercise of and cycling through those patterns, we could add in backbeats and we could go. Just like that, and we could do the same with the exercise I just showed you, where if we're doing paradiddles, we could play. which is pretty interesting and pretty cool. Now, yet another variation here. I want to give you a lot of options here because I know we're all at different levels. For some of you, the first thing that I showed you today, or first thing was the adjustment, but the first exercise I showed you, that might be the one thing you need to focus on. Just focus on doing this and getting the beater bobbing motion. That alone is powerful. Maybe that's where you need to stay. If you're new to the drums, if you're new to this, spend as much time on that as you need to. But if you are a little more advanced and you're ready to push your coordination more and you're grasping these exercises quickly, the next thing you can do is rudiments between your feet, because you also want to begin tying in the left foot and make sure that right foot can work independently with that. So that might mean doing paradiddles that way. Of course, you can start with singles and then doubles also. And in the same way we added in a backbeat as a bonus level, you can also do that. Very simple, very comprehensible, but not easy to execute. It takes some time. It takes a lot of patience. But go in the order that I presented all of this to you today. Work all of these things in that order, starting with the adjustments, making sure you're feeling good. Adjust your pedal if you need to. Check out the additional videos on that. So you've got all those things in place. Then practice the beater bopping. So you're getting what I like to call micro coordination going on. By the way, kind of a side tangent, but when you're working on a technique and you're mastering a specific motion with a specific limb, you're building this kind of a micro coordination because you're coordinating different things down here. You're thinking about multiple things at once while you're doing this, like where's my foot, how am I keeping the beater moving, making sure I'm not hitting the head. All these things are going on. When you combine that with the macro coordination of these exercises, you really, I want to say exponentially, increase your coordination. And I don't know if that's scientifically true or not, but it definitely feels like that's true, where you're thinking about a lot of things here, then combining it with all these things as your foot's becoming more autopilot, so you're really deepening coordination. First you're doing that, and then you're getting into these coordination exercises. You're doing the threes, the gung, 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 gung. Make sure you're doing that first. Then from there, you could then add in the backbeats. You could do the patterns back and forth between the feet. But go in that order. Don't stress about any of these more complex variations if you're not ready for them yet, because you got to take these things in stride, be patient with them, because they do take some time. But know that often the simplest things deliver the most powerful and even quick results. So spend as much time on this, the beater bobbing motion, as you need to before even moving into these coordination exercises. But now, as we begin wrapping up our third part today in this lesson, the secret to mastering right foot technique and feeling comfortable and capable long term. Because what's going to happen, what's probably going to happen, is you're going to take these exercises to your practice room, you're going to begin working on these, and you're going to hopefully get some quick wins, some quick results, and you'll be like, yeah, this is feeling good. Yeah, Steven, these exercises are working. My right foot's starting to feel a little more free. But even after doing this for a few weeks or a month or two, you might not feel entirely free down here. You might not feel like right foot can just do anything yet and improvise kick patterns yet. There might still be, some challenges, some frustrations you're having to move past because this takes time. And so what you have to understand is that the way that you really master anything on the drums, the way you master this, is by using it when you're playing music. The drumming masters who are out there, the session drumming masters, the touring drumming masters, the best drummers in the world, they have logged a lot of time playing music and playing with people. And when you're playing music and you're playing with people, you're spending way more hours playing every week than you are when you're just sitting in your practice room practicing. Because our brains can only handle so much practicing, let's be honest. Most of us don't want to practice more than a couple hours a day, even if we have that kind of time, because eventually our brains are fried and we're done. But music is really fun because music is emotional, and when we're playing music with people, it's this communal emotional kind of thing, or even a relational kind of thing, and that's so much more fun and so much more deep. And so we can spend a lot more time gaining technical experience and building coordination on the drums, but in that fun interactive way of playing music. And so we don't even realize it, but as we're playing with people and we're playing gigs and we're jamming and we're learning songs, even if we're just in our bedrooms at home, we're playing songs, we're logging hours on the kit and we're solidifying the micro coordination of that technique and the macro coordination of using the kick drum in songs, playing kick drum patterns. And all this is working together to help you ultimately master this in the long term. So my point through all that is use this in music. Practice these exercises, practice the technique, and use that in music. Play lots of songs, play with your buddies, jam with friends, play cover gigs. Get out there and play as much as you can, even if it's just playing along with playlists. Be logging as much time as you can playing this stuff, because that's what's going to help you actually master this and actually feel comfortable, like you're really precise on your right foot. The exercises are kind of just a means to an end to hopefully get you to that place. For me personally, I felt like I refined my kick drum technique gigging. You know, I worked on all the exercises and practiced all the things even through college, but as I started playing with cover bands in college, I was playing, 8 hours every weekend, plus I was playing at my church on Sundays and had a Wednesday night gig for a while, and so I was playing a whole bunch and logging a lot of hours doing this, and so what really solidified my technique and really helped me feel comfortable behind the kit wasn't practicing exercises, though that was a means to help me get there. Ultimately, it was playing with people and spending hours playing songs and developing my listening and getting more and more comfortable behind the kit. That's ultimately what did it, and that's probably going to do it for you. So long term, the secret to really mastering this and really feeling precise, feeling good about this, is using it in music. So play music, that's what this is all about. Hopefully that's what drumming boils down to for you, playing music. I hope that's what you really want to do and you want to get good at. And hey, to help you dive right into that, check out my Spotify playlist of favorite kick workout songs. These are just a few songs that have a lot of kick drum in them. And so maybe you're familiar with some of these. If not, that's fine, but I want you to find your own ultimately, but get started with my playlist. These are just fun songs to learn, play along to, that'll require a lot of your right foot, whether it's, just relentless eights or quarters and some volume, and so you'll be able to really work your right foot a lot in playing these songs. So I hope you have fun with this, but go find your own too. Maybe use this to start a playlist, but ultimately build your own, so you've got your favorite songs to really work out your kick drum foot that you can play through, maybe even every day. All right, so that's gonna wrap it up for today. I hope this lesson helped you out, provided you with a lot of value. I hope you'll go grab the notation PDF, because that's going to give you the specifics so that you can take it to your practice room and know that you're practicing the right things and doing it well. You can also go back and watch through that middle part of the lesson where I demonstrate the exercises while following along with the PDF to make sure you're hearing everything right and you know what you're doing. And so that'll be your companion, your action step companion to this lesson. And of course, I really want you to join that weekend mini course. Eliminate your weak hand in 3 steps. Totally free, no brainer. I want you to join the course because you're gonna get some big time results out of it. I don't want you to put up with a weak hand any longer. I want you to solve the weak hand so you can play fills evenly and you can feel comfortable and confident on the kit knowing that, hey, my left hand is just as capable as my right. I could even play open-handed if I wanted to. I can play my fills well, I can nail backbeats, I can be that drummer that just lays it down. So many things we want to accomplish on the drums that we literally can't do when a weak hand is wreaking havoc. But this is fixable. Even if you're busy, even if you feel like you don't have a lot of talent, you can do this. This is a 3-step plan. Follow the plan, take action on the steps, and you will be able to even out your weak hand so that both hands are balanced and even and you're nailing whatever you want to play. So you can get started right there. The course is totally free. It's a no-brainer. Thanks everyone for watching. Hope you enjoyed this lesson. Be sure to subscribe if you're new. Have a great week. I'll see you on the next lesson. Stay non-glamorous.